Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Bob Chronicles. I'm your host, Christian Paul, a proud lame, might I add, right? Certified proud lame, basically just actually looking for the tea and actually trying to give an analytical perspective based on what type of controversy or whatever type of craziness basically happens up in these YouTube streets and maybe up in the media, whatever globe, whatever it may be, whatever interest, interest of mind based on certain analytical stuff and actually speak things, actually spew things much from an analytical perspective. Now, today's edification that I want to actually discuss is actually dealing with empirical statistical data versus actual personal experience, right? It's basically bumping heads literally between the two, if you know what I mean. So there's this clip which literally gone viral, has been going viral all over social media, dealing with basically like a heated debate between like the hottest YouTube creators literally out there and Twitch creators and Hassan Abi, right? Coming up with like the new self-proclaimed legendary kickboxer, self-proclaimed alpha male, self-proclaimed max, self-proclaimed pimp by the name of Andrew Tate, who makes his extra millions of dollars, doing a side hustle when it comes to like dealing with like some of the women that he deals with. He's a very, very, very nutty guy, if you know what I mean. So let's dig into the background of two of these guys and try to figure out like what's triggering the controversy and like why so many folks are literally losing their mind, mainly on the latter guess of the subject, if you will. So y'all bear with me here. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Hassan Abi. Basically known, birth name Hassan Dogan Piker, Turkish American dude, born July 25th, 1991. I was actually born May 10th. I got a couple months on him. Basically, he's a professional Twitch streamer, YouTube streamer, as well as a hardcore, liberal political commentator, based on his views on like what he does in politics, right? He does works in broadcast journalism for the TYT, the Young Turks, as well as being a HuffPost columnist. HuffPost basically meaning Huffington Post. And currently he's one of the most viewed and most subscribed to streamers on Twitch, where he basically covers news, plays a shit ton of video games, and discusses politics from a socialistic perspective, right? And we already know he's basically like an NYC area native, hailing from New Brunswick, New Jersey. That's basically like about from Staten Island, we talking about a good 15-20 minutes. Manhattan, we talking about a good 30-45 minutes, right? For people that actually know about the New York City area. So, right, we actually try to scroll down here and see what's up. Clearly, they're actually born to Turkish immigrants up by New Brunswick, and he was mainly raised up in Istanbul, right? And he then eventually returned to the U.S. and attended the University of Miami. Then later transferred back to Rutgers, New Brunswick, where he actually graduated cum laude with a double major in political science and communication studies in 2013. When he saw this stuff up by the Young Turks. Then he created some TYT series up there, and he left in 2020, left TYT in 2020 there. To become a Twitch streamer full time, which he started in March 2018, around the time I was working with the Young Turks, right? So he wanted to actually try to reach a younger audience there, and due to the fact that he felt was a preponderance of white-wing commentators on YouTube and like the leftist representation and all that stuff, and he ended up being like the liberal commentator up by there, and he got invited to like various news channels up there, Fox News, The Issue, and Chapo Trap House. Right, he criticized certain representatives that were there, and they have issues, with 9/11 and all that stuff, right? So, all this stuff you see here, you can literally try to look at the stuff basically on Wikipedia there. Hassan Abi actually try to find them, right? And they got a reaction scene for the 2020 presidential debate, right? So they got like a popular multiplayer games and doing the whole vote agenda, then the whole 9 yards, all the other ventures they got there, and we already know he has like a very, very liberal mindset, right? Basically intersexual feminist, the medical for all stuff, alphabet rights, gun control, basically against war, the imperialism, Islamophobia, like the whole 9 yards, and he's been outspoken critic of both political parties in the United States of America, which we know he was raised Muslim, and we know that he is Cenk Uyghur's nephew, right? And that's how you guys connect with the Young Turks, right? All this personal stuff that he currently resides up in LA, right? And the reception that he gets, they cover this stuff in like a very, very positive manner, and we know the rest is history. And you see his awards down there, all the references. You can definitely look it up on Wikipedia. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Andrew Tate. Born on December 14th, 1986. He is a British-American kickboxer as well as a very polarizing online personality. According to Wikipedia here, following his career, Tate received media attention for his controversial stances on issues such as sexual assault and sexual harassment, including that his view that rape victims share blame for their assaults. So if we scroll down, 2009, Tate was reportedly employed in selling television advertising, but since 2005, he's practiced boxing and martial arts on the side. That year, he won the International Sport Karate Association Full Contact Cruiserweight Championship in Derby, England, and was ranked number 1 at his weight in Europe. Though he had won 17 of his 19 fights, he said it was the first belt and title. Tate lost fight for the vacant ISCA World Full Contact Light Heavyweight Championship to Jean-Luc Benoit on points of the 12 rounds. They had a rematch 3 months later in Luton, England, but this time Tate became champion, defeating Benoit via KO in round 8 of the scheduled 12 rounds. 2013, Tate won a second ISCA World title in a 12-round match. It was Tate's second world title in 2 different weight divisions. The fight was headed in Châteauneuf, France. Tate to the ISCA World Full Contact Light Cruiserweight Championship via split decision. And we know he was Andrew and his twin brother Aaron. They were both born in D.C. To a black armed forces veteran and a white mom, right? And they've been basically been Army brats literally ever since, right? This is why I'm trying to keep it out there. Now, with his online career, Tate has used online profiles to steer traffic to his website, offering training courses to get rich and male-female interactions, and what they quote. According to the website, he operates a webcam studio using girlfriends as employees, i.e. basically using them as like an OnlyFans related structural model. And if we scroll down to the controversies here that they have shown, 2016, Tate gave public notoriety following his move from the 17th season of Big Brother, following a recent video in which Tate appeared to be the woman. He was subsequently moved from the show. Tate says the answers were consensual. Uh-oh. He received attention for his tweets delineating his view of what qualifies as sexual harassment amid the Harvey Weinstein sexual abuse cases, and between several statements about his view that sexual assault victims share responsibility for their assaults. 3 of Tate's Twitter accounts were suspended at different times. In 2021, an account he created to evade his previous ban was verified by Twitter contrary to their policies. The account appeared to have been part of promotion with Bugatti. The account was subsequently permanently suspended, and Twitter said the verification occurred in error. Tate moved to Romania in 2017 after the British police charged him with 11 cases regarding sexual assault. He later explained in an interview that it was easier to have rape charges dismissed in Eastern Europe, and that was one of his main reasons for the move. In April 2022, the Daily Beast reported that Tate's house was raided by Romanian police in relation to a human trafficking and rape investigation, and still alleged, prompted by reports that an American woman was being held at the property against her will. Romanian authorities found both a Romanian woman and an American woman at the property. As of April 2022, Romanian authorities says the investigation was still ongoing. Accusations still there. The United States State Department spokesperson referred to reported abduction, but declined to comment further, citing privacy considerations. Now, you see the kickboxing record that they have basically shown. Basically, overall, 78 wins, 9 losses, right? That's what we see here. Professional is just only MMA, is only 1-0. Amateur, based on record, is 3-2, right? And you basically see that stuff from there. Now, if you actually scroll down and see some of the controversy that has been actually taking place, right? Lugwood slams Andrew Tate supporters. You are a fucking loser, right? Based on from the Mogul Mail here. And if we scroll down for a bit, Those of you may not be aware, Andrew Tate, the self-proclaimed hustler and kickboxer, made a name for himself thanks to his controversial opinions that have gone viral on TikTok and Twitch and YouTube. Tate has already crossed paths with influencers like XQC and Hassan Piker, both of whom debated Tate on his opinions regarding his views on women. Now, YouTube creator Ludwig Ogren has weighed in on Tate with that one Twitch clip in particular, addressing the viewer defending him by saying if they unironically support Tate, they are a fucking loser. Ludwig calls out Andrew Tate supporters. Full clip shows Ludwig regarding a comment from a person in chat that tells the streamer not to shit talk Andrew Tate. Ludwig immediately responded by saying if you unironically follow Andrew Tate, you're a fucking loser, but I'll say that for a mogul male. And y'all can actually look at that yourself, right? He goes in, right? We see the situation with Hassan Nabi, right? He calls Andrew Tate a baby after he's kicked off Twitch stream debate. You know, we already had the debates up there. And Hassan Nabi joined the live stream with viral sensation Andrew Tate for a debate and was removed from the stream after things got heated between the two. Mere hours after saying that he doesn't believe Andrew Tate has any interest in debating him, Hassan ended up in a stream with the controversial social media star and four-time kickboxing world champion alongside Fortnite pros Klitz and Buck. It didn't take long for the debate to kick off, with Hassan immediately questioning Hassan's thoughts on women, saying that a lot of issues he addresses boil down more to capitalism than gender. It was when the conversation switched to Tate's business practice that things really picked up, though, and there became a clear agitation between the two, with Tate saying that Hassan should be cooked for making the stream boring. Hassan went on to imply that Tate's Hustlers University business is a pyramid scheme, before Tate once again called the streamer boring and said he already won. As for Hassan to be removed from the string, Buck then edited a call saying that they were going to bring someone new, with Hassan saying that Tate cried like a baby when he was challenged. The streamer then took to Twitter to joke that it's no wonder Andrew Tate had to quit kickboxing. My man's frame shattered after I asked two questions about his business. Both parties clearly feel like they won the battle, so Hassan feels as though Tate will never speak to him again. There would definitely be interest from both sets of fans for those two to have an actual debate. And then we look at Andrew Tate's TikTok controversy, right? And they say a timeline of every single messed up thing Andrew Tate has done to date. Why does he still have a following? And this is coming from the writer by the name of Lucia Byfield. Shout out to her. And it has says CW sexual violence, sexual assault, rape. Andrew Tate has recently gone viral on TikTok for his arguably extreme views that he shared on online podcasts. The British kickboxer moved to America with his brother, who has been part of many of Andrew's said controversies before settling in Romania. The internet star's been criticized heavily for his blatant misogynistic views. However, he's also gained a rather large following of seemingly like-minded individuals with over 2.5 million followers on his Instagram. But why exactly is Andrew Tate so controversial, and what has he done? Here's every single messed up thing Andrew has done and said to date. He was evicted from the UK Big Brother house in 2016. We already actually discussed that, right? You can actually try to read all that stuff yourself. Another situation they had, he said some women put themselves in a position to be raped. We already went through that on Wikipedia. And he said he moved to Romania as it is easier to rape women there. A video has emerged of Andrew on Twitter saying that in Eastern European countries it is easier to get off on rape charges. In the video, he says that this is probably 40% of the reason he moved there. He says, I'm not a rapist, but I like the idea of just being able to do what I want. I like being free. The video was originally posted to his YouTube channel, but has since been deleted. And they've used webcam models to scam men out of money. March of 2022, Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were making millions of pounds. That's basically coming out of UK. From their online business in which they use webcam models to coerce seemingly desperate men in the hand over money after falling for fake stories. The brothers have openly admitted that this business is a total stand to the Daily Mail. Tristan told the same mirror that he does not feel any guilt as no one cares. And this is Andrew Tate coming by with the suit bun, literally suit bun down, the polo bun down, with the blazer, coming on the Fresh and Fit podcast, where Myron Gaines and Fresh Prince CEO bring like a bunch of women on to talk about all this stuff about women, finances, and fitness, right? And we already talked about the situation with Romania. We already know that. Basically, he also said he wouldn't let his girlfriend go to the club without him. Tate said on a live stream they would not allow his female partner to go to the club without him out of fear that she would find another male partner. These comments were the cause of controversy last week, with Twitch streamer XQC calling him out on a live stream about his outdated views on gender equality and relationships. XQC Senate debate. I could rationalize the argument. Most of the girls I dated had the IQ of somebody who cannot move, they can do anything, and it's stuck in the side of the curb, but it doesn't make sense in the real world. You don't park your fucking girl on the curb of the club. And this is what Andrew Tate has said, right? So it ends there, and now we read another article coming out of the Daily Mail, basically titling Aussies Turn On Controversial British, give me 1 second, British social media personality at the slams wildlife icon Steve Irwin and mocks his tragic stingray death. You've gone too far now, right? A British kickboxer is under fire after claiming Australian icon Steve Irwin died because he didn't stay within his limits when he chose from a deadly stingray. Shout out to Ashley Nickel from Daily Mail Australia, by the way. Andrew Tate made a controversial statements earlier this month on his podcast and TikTok channels. I love Steve Irwin, he's a G, Tate said, but like stingray, what the fuck, right? That wouldn't have happened in the middle of Sydney. It would have been fine. Melbourne, why do you go in the fucking water, right? So we scroll down there for the video. I don't know, pardon all this stuff is a little bit unresponsive here. Just having all these pop-ups. That's there. One moment. So you scroll down. Steve Irwin condolences with his family, by the way, right? You scroll down up there. Tate then said Irwin didn't know his place in individual while filming with the stingray. There's swimming pools. He puts in the limits. I put some limits where I have some kind of control. Andrew Tate says. Irwin tragically died after a stingray pierced him in the chest on September 4th, 2006 while filming a documentary series in the Great Barrier Reef. Again, condolences to his family, right? So commenters in Tate's video slammed him for being ignorant about Irwin Australian culture. Tate, you've gone too far. Now the crocodile hunter was a legend. One person wrote, man can't pronounce Melbourne right, so his opinion is invalid by default. Another said, he wanted to be with the wildlife in the wild because that was his passion. A third wrote, he just doesn't know enough about Australia. Fourth added, Tate quickly rose to fame in 2016 after he was removed from the Big Brother UK house when the video emerged from being his ex-girlfriend with a belt. Since then, he has stayed in the spotlight with his boxing matches, controversial opinions, and flashy lifestyle. And that is the end of the article. And we're going to go and dig into the short YouTube clip of Hassan Nabi and Andrew Tate when it comes to dealing with business and statistics. Alright, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, empirical statistical data versus, right, personal experiences. Let's go.
Andrew, I've seen some of your work as you're doing the rounds on Twitch here, and a lot of the things that you said that you've been called out on, specifically in regards to like women driving, as a matter of fact, are just generally untrue. There's no empirical evidence to back up those claims, which is why you resort.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can find that source from the New York Times. Shout out to Nicholas Bancalar, by the way. April 2020, coming from the study in injury prevention. You can find that up in a link.
To anecdotes quite frequently and say things like, oh, well, it's just common sense, right? But it's not technically common sense.
Okay. Now, take note, the statistics that you see here was presented in August 2004. Basically showing statistics on drivers having fatal crashes per 100 million miles stemming from 1977 to 1995. But it doesn't show all the drivers in fatal crashes per million miles coming from probably in the 90s coming to today. So please take where you're at. Be very careful on what you read thoroughly. Always thoroughly analyze where the source is coming from and how big the sample size is. Let's keep going.
It's just your personal opinion.
Completely. It's my personal opinion based on my personal biases of my life experience.
I give credit. Sound right there.
Yeah, exactly. And when I say these things, X amount of people agree with me and X amount of people disagree with me. That's fine, and that's the same of nearly any statement in the world.
Okay, but
I can say the world is round, and there'll be a percentage of people who disagree with me. That's totally and utterly fine. I come on here and talk about my own personal experiences, and my experiences, men are better drivers than women. I'm not saying there's no good female drivers. I'm not saying a female can't.
No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. There is a truth, and then there is your own personal experiences backed by anecdotes, right? Or your own personal opinion backed by anecdotes from your own personal experiences.
There we go.
Now, your own personal experiences are oftentimes going to be incorrect and not close to the reality. That's why there's an entire field of statistical analysis. That's why we do empirical That's why we rely on empirical evidence when we're making decisions. Why? Because we all carry a bunch of personal biases, and when we analyze situations, we do not have enough scope to grasp the entirety of the situation. We cannot comprehend it with our human brains.
That right there.
But listen,
which is why when it comes to women driving, it's a funny point because the truth is different. The truth is the exact opposite.
No, listen. First things first. There's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. I'm sure you've heard that from Mark Twain. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you're deriving.
You can massage. Yeah, you can massage numbers, but
you're deriving your truth from an internet study. That's fine. You can derive your truth from an internet study on a bunch of different things. The truth of life.
But here's the interesting part. You know, a lot of people from the red pill, a lot of people in that mainstream media actually cite those same stuff in the internet study just to push their narratives towards women, other dudes, to try and fuel a narrative based on like where they intend to go and based on what their mindsets are. But when you see other internet stories actually being pushed out there and actually counteracting the fact, all of a sudden now like a lot of them will still want to cry foul, and now all of a sudden they don't want to hear the issues, and yet they claiming it's facts over feelings. Let's continue.
It's the truth that you experience as an individual. That is the only truth that we all live within. You live within your truths, I live within my truths, because these are the truths I've experienced as an individual. If certain things happen to you over and over and over and over and over again, but the truth on the internet says it's not true, that doesn't mean that your experiences are any less real. So if you to come here and say the internet says X,
your experiences can be real. You could be a statistical anomaly, as a matter of fact.
Boom.
You could be one of those people, but more often than that,
I'm going to talk because I keep letting you talk and you're finishing your point and I'm trying to talk. So
okay, go ahead.
I'm going to. The fact that you're going on the internet, finding some study and saying that this is the truth, especially after the age of COVID and all the fucking truth we were told with that garbage, you want to sit here and say, oh, the internet said X. I'm sure the internet did. I'm talking about my personal experiences, and some people agree with me and some people do not. That is perfectly fine. Don't give a fuck if people agree with me or otherwise. People are listening to me and they're either agreeing with me or not.
I know, but you're still wrong, and that's the problem.
I disagree with you.
Do you want to be right, or do you want to keep speaking into a hug box where people agree with you, and then, you know, well, if you just completely devalue empirical evidence, actuarial sciences, the entirety of the insurance industry that relies on making these sorts of calculations to ensure that these quotes are as profitable as possible, which ends up charging men higher rates than women, is a statistical likelihood that men are more dangerous drivers than women across the board and get into more car accidents across the board. If you're going to look at all of that and say it doesn't matter because that does not correspond to my own personal experiences, then you're silly. You're being silly. You're being a silly person. If everyone thought like you did, right, we would have no scientific achievements on this planet. We would still be living inside of fucking caves. As much as I love Liver King personally, I don't think that that would be a good planet to live on. I'm pretty happy for, I don't know, all the medical achievements, all the scientific achievements that we have reached. And at the heart of all of that, all of those accomplishments lies an understanding of arriving at the truth through empirical evidence.
You done?
Yeah.
Cool. In my personal experiences, all of the car crashes I've been involved in, all the times my car was hit, and all the negative experience I've had on the road, women were at fault. That is, now you can sit here and say
the woman that he was with, the woman that he was with, that he picked, yes, they're at fault, but it doesn't reflect the whole picture based on the study. Now, in Andrew's case, he's clearly an anomaly, right? Let's keep going.
The insurance claims say that. I never said the insurance claims don't say that. I'm saying that I am not comfortable with women driving because of my personal experience. Those are my.
With the woman that he's picked, keep thinking. With the woman that he picked, right, to be around him. Let's keep going.
Personal experiences. You can drag up all the empirical evidence in the world you want to try and drag up. Anyone with a brain knows how that aids the world agendas anyway. I don't want to go too political on a stream that's going to get taken down. So I'm not saying that I can't find a female race car driver. I'm not saying that.
That's not what I'm saying either. I'm not talking about like statistical anomalies. I'm straight up talking about the overwhelming amount of evidence that suggests that women are more careful drivers than men. Okay? And therefore better drivers than men. You keep resorting back to your personal anecdotes. So let me walk you through this, right? Do you agree? Do you agree that human beings have biases?
Do me a favor. Do me a favor.
Okay. But hey, I respected your time. Do you want to answer my question? Do you believe that human beings have biases?
Oh, absolutely. We're all biased.
Okay.
Completely.
Do you think that those biases might cloud your judgment?
It's not about clouding judgment.
Not just your personal not just your own personal judgment. Do you think our biases might cloud our personal judgment?
I think every single person on earth is biased and lives within a biased
Absolutely.
reality.
There we go.
That's absolutely true. If you agree with me on both of those accounts, you understand that your anecdotes, your own personal accumulation of information, is going to be clouded by your own personal biases. So you're not going to be able to assess the information adequately in the same way that empirical evidence would. This is precisely why we look at data rather than make arguments around our... Wait, let me finish. Come on.
I understand what you're saying.
This is precisely why we do that.
We've been on the same point like 5 times here.
Everyone's saying kick you. You're long-winded the point. You're saying that the empirical evidence is saying X, so it doesn't matter what my personal experience is. That's fine. My point is, let me change it. Let's say that the empirical evidence says that a pit bull is more likely to bite you than a Dalmatian. But in your life experience, every time you went near a Dalmatian, it bit you, and a pit bull never did. Are you going to go up to a Dalmatian still completely and go, oh, it's fine, completely unbiased because the empirical evidence says X when you're covered in scars? No. You're going to say, Dalmatians bite me for some reason, and I'm not comfortable around Dalmatians. That's called human nature. Okay. So I'm telling you my personal experiences, and I don't care. I understand your point. Empirical evidence says X. Women in this...
The fact is, Andrew Tate does not want to hear the statistical analysis, or does not want to see all the stuff that they have whatsoever. And he wants to be the anomaly, that's fine if he understands it. And if he's an anomaly, that's great. You know, count his blessings. And if he doesn't want to believe like all the empirical evidence on the data that's actually been shown, you know, that's his right as well. It's his life. He's free to actually live however he so pleases. There's some points, some cues that he definitely learn from on these issues, given on his experience that we can all learn from. But some of his points are a little bit way too skewed and way off balance.
This country can do X. I completely get that. For secondly, it's also country by country because you're only talking about America because you're American and you don't see outside of the world. That's fine.
I'm Turkish, actually. I grew up in Turkey.
That's not the point. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is I'm uncomfortable with a woman driving. And if you actually ask most women, if it gets late at night or it starts getting dark or it starts raining heavily or the parking gets difficult, they usually...
The women that he picked, by the way, keyword.
Ask the man to drive themselves. I know many women who do that. They're not offended by my assumption. I know loads of women who go, oh, I don't want to park, you park it. Loads. There's not a bad thing about it. Who gives a shit, right? It's not even a big deal. You've come on here deciding you really want to stick up for the chicks and maybe, you know, one of them will drive over to your house. It's cool. We've got better things to talk about.
I look, let's be real. I don't think I need to be a male feminist to be able to attract women, okay? However, having said that, that was a funny implication. Having said that, you are failing to recognize what I am trying to say. I walked you through these steps slowly but surely. The thing is, the Dalmatian example that you gave is great.
I feel
because
to that listening
you
to
are
this whole crazy
creating
conversation,
now
man.
a
It's
hypothetical scenario
around
in which
circles like a
you
hamster
want
wheel.
your opponent to concede. I can do the exact same thing and say, well, in my personal experience, Dalmatians never bite, or pit bulls never bite, whichever one you thought was the more aggressive breed, right? In my personal experience, what if in a million times that I have bred pit bulls or been around pit bulls, not a single one of them has ever been aggressive? We will never be able to arrive at a meaningful solution or a resolution to this conversation if we're both operating on personal anecdotes and hypotheticals. That is not how you can conduct an appropriate debate.
Absolutely.
Good. So now you're saying the thing I just said. I have my own biases, my personal experiences, and I say them. Some people disagree and some people agree, and I don't care. You now come along.
But you're still wrong, though, because I'm not operating on biases when I talk about women driving.
Right.
I'm talking about the empirical evidence. I might have personally thought women are worse at driving than men as well. But once you arrive at, once you look at the evidence and you realize that said evidence suggests something else, you're probably not going to continue believing the prior thing that you believed, right?
We've went over the same point like 5 times, and I think we're just...
I know, but it's just...
All right. Time to bounce. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right. For many of you that don't know, I've been around the STEM field literally my entire life. I've been, having this like crazy fascination with mathematics. Most of y'all don't even know about the whole spiel, like basically like on the background of what I mainly do for a living, given my expertise and when it comes to dealing with empirical statistical data, right? I received my degree. I received my bachelor's in civil engineering from the University of Delaware in 2013, and I also received my master's of arts degree in applied mathematics and statistics up by the Cooney's family of Hunter College in 2018. On top of that, I have about a year and a half of PhD candidacy in mathematics at Howard University, right? And I can easily tell you when it comes with like statistical data, you always want to make sure you thoroughly vet the data. You always want to make sure you actually see where the source is coming from and see how big the sample size really is. Because yes, every statistical data is always going to be flawed, but much of the data that we actually see, you want to try and make sure is as thoroughly accurate as possible to make sure that none is actually discredited, to see like who's the anomalies, who's like the usual suspects, literally the whole 9 yards, right? And yes, Hassan is definitely right on that when it comes to dealing with data. You know what I mean? We all got biases, right? Given what we know, given what we experience, given all the traumas that we face, we all got biases due to our past experiences as a result of that. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Andrew at all. Let me be literally clear on what he said on that, because homeboy is successful based on what he did, on what he does. He's a lethal kickboxer. He's a great entrepreneur. He handles his shit well. You know, based on what I'm reading, I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy at all. But when you try to deny literally statistical data that's actually shown, it basically makes you look like the fool. You know what I'm saying? And this is coming from a mathematician and a statistician, literally trying to actually look for data science opportunities literally for a living, actually showing like analytical data up on this channel, right? You know what I mean? Literally for a living, right? You know what I mean? Making sure everything is really thoroughly vetted and you present the evidence to the public to make sure whether or not they want to actually try and discern it or they want to just literally fucking ignore it. You know what I'm saying? So I can fully relate to it because I'm part of that STEM field myself. Where I went through and where I studied, it ain't easy. It's fast, rapid, fast, in a hurry. Where you see like a bunch of people literally either switch majors or end up getting weeded out or end up dealing with academic withdrawal due to the fact that they dealt with academic probation. I've seen this shit happen literally through like bachelor's year, literally through the undergraduate years, mainly during undergraduate years. And I've seen it happen literally like in master's programs where they literally switch majors. And it definitely happened to me up in the PhD program as well, where I came up short on a couple of courses and ended up getting booted out of that. I'll discuss I digress on that for a different time. You know what I mean? That's how brutal that's how brutal this stuff is. You know what I'm saying? So don't take that stuff away for granted. Don't take that stuff for granted whatsoever. You know what I mean? So with that being said, right? Whatever they decide, you know, because I know you got the intersectional feminists coming through versus like the hardcore red pill mats who literally like bumping heads. It really comes so that like they're mainly like all in the same, in my personal opinion, right? But you should never, ever, ever take empirical data with a grain of salt. That's literally the moral of the story. And also the other moral of the story that I actually learned in all of this, right, is that a lot of times when you see like people in those groups and how they represent, they'll literally use certain statistical data points and other data points to try and fuel an area as well. So you also want to try and make sure that you're thoroughly careful and you read things very, very thoroughly, analyze things very, very thoroughly and find the source so that you guys won't be easily deceived. And I'm going to leave it at that, y'all. You know what I mean? Very interesting stuff. I could definitely see that on the very least. And one last one before I go. What y'all been seeing up in like all these red pill gurus up in them YouTube streets? That red pill's literally going mainstream. The manosphere is literally going on the mainstream right now. And don't be surprised if it hits your local LinkedIn near you. Y'all been warned. Alright? Chris and Paul from the Nerd Chronicles signing out. Bob Chronicles up by your local radio podcast, your Anchor, your Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, radio podcasts, however it may be. Deuces, deuces, deuces.